Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Celebrity Natal Charts. Today, we're going to be looking at the natal chart of Beyonce Knowles. What was her name? Or Beyonce? Um, on Astro Charts, she does not have a rising sign information, which has knocked a lot of people out of the contention of me doing a video about them. But I was like, I don't think you can really talk about Virgos without talking about Beyonce. Even all my other honorable mentions got half videos in another person's video, and I was like, let me just do some Virgo people pleasing, be a crowd pleaser with everybody's favorite Beyonce. So Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter, born September 4th, 1981, is an American singer and actress, born and raised in Houston, Texas. Yeehaw. She performed in various singing and dancing competitions as a child and rose to fame in the late 90s as lead singer of R&B group Destiny's Child, managed by her father, Matthew Knowles. The group became one of the world's best-selling girl groups of all time. She was included in Time magazine's list of the 100 most influential people in the world in 2013 and 2014. So cool. Okay, so that's Beyonce. She is a Virgo and is said to have a rising Aries, which, if I was Sherlock Holmes or something, and, we're just trying to Sherlock Holmes what her rising sign is, there are a lot of different pop stars that have rising Aries, like I think Shakira, Rihanna, just to mention two, and I think there's a couple other people too, but and then also Diana Ross, who's a big R&B showstopper. She has a sun in Aries, so it seems right. It doesn't seem 100% wrong that she'd have a rising Aries. She was the leader of Destiny's Child. She has a solo career. All things very Aries. So she has a rising Aries, meaning that she gets so Aries first house I see is the house and sign that rules the relationship to the father. Um, so I was like, oh, she gets a lot of self-esteem from her father, connection to her father, which I think is sort of confirmed by her bio and Matthew Knowles being such a heavy influence on her life and Destiny's Child and her destiny. And so her second house is Taurus. So whenever I do rising Aries natal charts, I'm I'm so sorry, but for the way that I read, this is gonna go very quickly, which I think Aries appreciates. So her second house is in Taurus, which means that her biggest priority should be her finances. If she were a farmer, her biggest priority would be the cows on her farm. Um, and so whatever her cows are, that's her biggest priority. And then her third house is in Gemini. She sang real good. She talk. I don't know if she's the best in interviews, but singing, talking, communicating, that is her strong suit, or that's what she's a lot of superpower in. This also talks about her childhood environment, probably being around siblings, sisters, or maybe she has a twin somewhere. Or there are a lot of people that have tried to emulate her. A lot of people dress up like her for Halloween, all types of stuff like that for Beyonce. I'm just gonna double check right here to see if missing any planets. We are sort of missing Chiron. So she has a Chiron in Taurus in her second house, which sort of says to me maybe she's really good at giving financial advice, or not even financial advice, but career advice, what type of career you should be in. But maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe she goes back and forth between movies, being in front of the camera, being behind the camera, music, directing the music video itself. And maybe she has a talent for pinpointing, if you walked into a room with Beyonce, she would be like, oh, you should be in this movie, or you should talk to this guy, and you should be, assistant director on this project. But she doesn't really have that same vision or eyesight for herself, which who really does. So her environment, third house, Gemini, around a lot of people, a lot of athletic people, athletes. Fourth house in Cancer talks about connection to her mother, strong connection to her mother. Strange that there's a mention of her in her bio, but what's her name? Tina Knowles, very influential on her as well, and a good strong relationship. And then in the fifth house, we obviously have Leo. Leo in the fifth house, meaning she's very sexy, and she is very bootylicious, very bootylicious placement. And then we move into her sixth house, where she has her sun, Virgo. So any obstacles that she faces from her uh, fifth house, from being sexy, from being too sexy, maybe in certain situations, is healed or protected by her sixth house of Virgo, which means, like, I don't know, like, if you're like kidnapped by a bunch of pirates and they're like, gonna hurt you, and you're like Beyonce or a Virgo, and they see that you're so virtuous and virginal and polite and things like that, like they might spare you or something. Which is something that maybe goes on in her life, and people don't really like. I mean, people make fun of her, but she hasn't really been like Whitney Houston, where she's like the punchline of every, like Whitney Houston, or like Michael Jackson, where she's like the punchline of everybody's joke. And it's not to say like she's not make funnable of, like you can't make fun of her or whatever, people do, but it's not funny. You know what I mean? Like she's not funny to make fun of, I guess, in like the tabloids and the press. And I think everybody's funny to make fun of, but I'm not really here for Beyonce jokes. I don't know. So maybe that's like a part of it. Does anybody have any good Beyonce jokes? Like anybody like crushing Beyonce? Um, let's see where we are. Where are we? Okay, Sun and Virgo. Okay. So her next house, which is her seventh house of Libra, she has a lot of activity there, which is good. She's a social magnet. She has Mercury in Libra, means she talks like a Libra, communicates like a Libra. Venus in Libra. Venus is a ruling planet, meaning that she's very lovely. Libra, they sing good too, just like Gemini. Very good at manifesting and attracting. Jupiter in Libra, so like very lucky in relationships, and emotional balance. And I think that Virgo does kind of get the like sobriety, what do you call it, straight edge sobriety chip or energy, but I think that comes from Libra as well, being like fair and balanced. Like, oh, I don't drink, I don't even know what alcohol is called, I just call it all alcohol. And she has cocktails every once in a while. um she has Saturn in Libra, so that means she is, well, Saturn in Libra is very interesting when you look at it in the terms of like Greek myth, where it's like, um is that Saturn? Yeah, Saturn. Like Saturn or Vulcan or whatever, and being married to Venus, and Saturn being like blind and not really appreciating beauty, while married to like the most beautiful woman in the world, or Olympia. And so there's that. But then also it's like, exceeding the limitations of in places or in points where she may not be beautiful, finding balance with that. And then she has, I think that's it. That's it? Okay, cool. Next house. So her eighth house is in Scorpio, where she also I believe she has her moon. So it says astro charts. And in moon in Scorpio, it's sort of like, I think it would be very typical of an African American person to have moon in Scorpio, because it's sort of like you're out for vengeance, and it may not necessarily be like blood or war or something, but it's like, they wouldn't let us do this, so now I'm doing that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I get, you understand what I'm saying? Like, like, oh, they don't let people of color perform the Star Spangled Banner at the Super Bowl, so I got to go and do it, even though I may not want to or care that much about Super Bowls. Um, and then in her ninth, her ninth house, she has Sagittarius, which is the ninth sign of the zodiac, and she also has the planet of Neptune. So I'm always like, whoever got on television with Neptune, Sagittarius, and I could just be the person that like pushed her to fame. But I think she was very famous on her own. I don't know the zodiac signs of Tina, Matthew, or any of the members of Destiny's Child or anybody involved in that. But I think she's also like very famously in a relationship with a Sagittarius, whom they are on television together a lot. I wouldn't say that he like necessarily opened up the door, or was like the first person to get her on TV. And then in her 10th house, she has Capricorn, which says she's very career oriented and like very skilled at that in her career. I mean, we all suffer from limitations, and I think like, if you're part of like some Beyonce hate group, you could probably find every limitation that she has. But I would say, arguably, from like a discursory, glance look, that she doesn't. Like, there's not really that many pitfalls. Like I don't really remember her slipping and falling. Like in 2006, we were doing all those upskirt photos of like Paris Hilton and stuff. I don't remember seeing her. Um, no pictures of her in the paparazzi passed out drunk like Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears, which could be a bad thing too. Which could be like the paparazzi's being racist and they're not taking pictures of her and she's passed out in a drunk in a car every day. Um, but I guess for career wise and reputation wise, as we're talking about the 10th house, it's kind of a good thing. And maybe it's a Virgo thing too, where it's like, oh, they don't want to take pictures for me for Us Weekly and the Daily Mail, and they don't that they're never saying that Beyonce has a Martian baby, like nothing like that. So could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but I think it's like an apparent thing, and it's also in her natal chart. And so she has an 11th house. I kind of hate doing Rising Aries videos. Um, and then she has an 11th house in Aquarius. I mean, she's really good at friends. And she has a 12th house in Pisces, meaning that she's really good at God. And she's amazing. And God is good. Thank you for this singer. Amen. Um, 11th house in Aquarius, really good with technology. I remember like in the early 2000s, they would sort of like push new cell phones, like rap video. Well, it kind of made sense. It was really good synergy. Like rap videos begat like ringtones, and then in the rap videos, they're like advertising whatever new phone is out. So that all kind of went together and coalesced. And then in her 12th house, she has Pisces, meaning that she has a really good relationship with God. Maybe not outwardly, maybe inwardly or retrospectively, like when she's looking back at her life and she's in her 12th house. Um, and that's her. She's cool. We're gonna talk about her Chinese zodiac sign, maybe. Let's see. And then we're gonna do every member of Destiny Child's. She's a metal rooster. Rooster, in my, as I keep being reminded that, Eastern and Western astrology, they don't know each other. They're Mariah Carey and J-Lo. They've never heard of each other, but in my interpretation, I typically see roosters being the Virgo sign, especially in the sense of like Virgo singers, Virgo Libra singers, rappers, farm life, being like the cockadoodle do, like being the person that wakes people up by singing every morning. Seems very rooster, very like like a rooster would become a human. It seemed like a thing they would do. Maybe, maybe she's under a curse from a witch and she was a rooster. And that's kind of. Well, Nickelodeon had that show with the male cow, so you never know. Yep, but that's her, a metal rooster. Uh, yeah, rooster is Virgo. Essentially, they wake people up on the farm. I don't know if that's the Chinese myth, but that's just how I feel about them. And yeah, so thank you so much for enjoying your beverage and listening to me talk about Beyonce because she hasn't been spoken about enough. And if you'd like your own, if you'd like your own reading, you can book with me on my website, which name might be changing soon. And then if you have a friend who is or might be a Virgo rising Aries, or if you have a friend who is a Virgo and you don't know their rising sign or birth time information, in an astrology book that I read a million years ago, it said that you should just, if you don't know your birth time, like just put in like 12 noon or something. But I don't think it would be a horrible practice to just like set it at Aries or to set it at Libra or something like that if you don't know, and still continue like with the reading. And send it to them and be like, you are Beyonce. And thank you so much for listening, sharing, liking, and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.